Welcome
Yeah, that's right.
to
That works. See, countdowns work, Tyler. Just count me down. That's all you need to do. All you need to do. I'm fisting my own hand.
Oh, you said it anyway. This is the series we still don't have a name for, but at this point it's fine because we won't do another one of these until next season.
Oh my god!
But for now, we have got some amendments to be amended for all the new changes.
I can honestly say I have like ideas for things that could use the information, but I don't know how good they are.
All right. What?
Don't worry.
All right.
Anyway, so this is going to be covering all of these season 4 balance changes. Although the thing is, this is supposed to be somewhat informational, maybe. But the thing is, it doesn't include any of the scout changes because we already did all those. I guess that means we shouldn't include them, but it's like we're not necessarily going over those things. I guess calling it an amendment is probably the best thing, but it feels weird. It's more like an amendment to what we've done rather than being that specific to Season 4, given that it excludes certain things that Season 4 changed. Because it's not like we need to amend the Scout one, because that was done post-Season 4 launch. It's a bit weird to me, so it's not as simple as I thought, at least in my brain. I don't know. Maybe your simple brain's fine with it, but... but it's just... Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
A bit messy this time around, but basically, yeah, we've already done all the Scout stuff because that got lumped in with when we did Scout. But obviously, there have been changes to the other classes that we did before the update. E.g., the Sabata, that was a pretty big one, and it will be the big one, with lots of other little ones as well. So we're going to go through those, and we're going to figure out, did they actually do any good? Did they make weak ones strong? Did they make the strong ones weak? What's up with the Sabata now? Question mark. These answers will be answered.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is very, very possibly someone's first time seeing what this is. So I guess showing them the ratings would not be inappropriate here. This is how we rate every mod and overclock, although this is going to be, I suppose, not really skewed in any particular way. Given how many mods a weapon has and that we're doing the Sabata from scratch, there'll still technically be more mods covered than overclocks. Either way, these are the ratings that we use, which have held up pretty well somehow. And I see no reason for that to change today. And honestly, at this point, though, we should be locked in. I think there should be no, like, I shouldn't even be mentioning the fact that it's like subject to change, because I don't think it is really. We're not going to be bothered to change what they mean. Let's be honest with ourselves. It is the way it is. Anyway, first on the chopping block is the only engineer change, which was to the breach cutter. Everyone's favorite overclock, spinning death. Which we can take a look at the changes directly. Oh wow, reduce the ammo penalty. That was easy. It now only reduces your, hold on, I think it's a it is a percentage times 0.65 max ammo, aka minus 35% max ammo, which means we can now get, compared to only being able to get up to 10 before, we can now have 12.
Hooray!
Which is a difference. It is what?
It is good though. It's good.
It's good. But the thing is, Tyler, the thing is, before this update, it was a free. Post this update, it's a free. It's better. It's better, but in a very, very obtuse way that doesn't actually make it better.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. It's so simple, yet it sounds bizarre. Like, it's obviously it is better. It's not actually better. It's
more
not
shots, right? That's like
yeah.
Especially with how much spinning death shots do. But ultimately, spinning death isn't that strong where extra 2 shots is like game breaking, right? That's just not really how it is. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of sad that that was the only thing Engineer got. But you know,
Yeah, I do want to
overall-
point out though, right? Something that this makes me a bit leery on. I think the ones that we've got are actually perfectly fine. Which is the fours. There's no fives. The fours are lightweight cases in Inferno, which is perfectly fine. We've also got Return to Sender and Stronger Plasma Current at 3. I hate to say this. I think we probably need to move roll control down.
yeah.
Your Spinning Death is now better, like the top of 3. I do not. I can't. As much as I defend roll control, I can't say it's worth using over. Well, Stronger Plasma Current first of all, which is in the same category supposedly. Not that this change comes specifically from Spinning Death, but I'm going to be honest. I don't see how roll control is actually earning its place as like a good pick, because threes are still meant to be good picks. So,
Yeah.
very basic. I can't really see you disagreeing. Fight me on that. It's not just sporadic. We are allowed to do this. It's our first time actually going over what's been done before. And then obviously something we have to consider, although we can sort of cut this off, nip this at the bud if we have to, but whether or not the change to Spinning Death has any effect on the ratings of the mods. I would say no, because in fact it arguably, even though I don't think the max ammo is going to change in how good it is, but it's arguably more like there's more reason to take decreased damage now, or even increase width slightly. But even then, the thing that Spinning Death suffered from was actually ammo. So kind of want as much ammo as possible still. I don't think it's changed anything in that regard at all. And it's over.
Over.
It's Jova. Yeah, I
No.
agree. It's a bit disappointing that's all Engineer got, because I do not think, compared to some of the things that got changed, that was necessarily deserved. And the only reason, obviously, it's like there's a limit to how much they could have done in the amount of time, the time frame in which these changes were being made. That doesn't mean that some things the engineer shouldn't have got anything else. Maybe he could have got some other changes instead of some of the other changes that were made. What I'm saying, I believe they probably did as much as they could within that time frame. But the fact that engineer only got one tells me that they weren't thinking about him as much for some reason. Even though I would say there's a fair bit that could be changed given the nature of the changes that were made.
Yeah, that's a minute change. There's a lot more obvious ones that could do with it. Like that's kind of what this implied, but they didn't really do that. At least not this time.
No.
I don't know. I think overall, it obviously wasn't a bad one, but it was weird that it was the only one. I think that's the takeaway from this change.
I think it's probably one of the best things they could have done to the breach cutter to a certain extent. I think the electric overclock is pretty whack, but I'm not sure exactly what you could do. I think giving an electric trail would have been a fine idea, and then of course Return to Sender I think is quite good, but I think it would still be improved by having it return to you instead of just where it started from. But that's very minute. I think the breach cutter was actually the thing is the breach cutter is not the weapon that should have gotten any attention, but maybe that's because the other weapons, on average, pretty much all the other weapons would need more changes than the breach cutter does. So they would felt very comfortable only doing the only thing that really the breach cutter needed, which was a slight buff to Spinning Death. And now the breach cutter is basically pretty much perfect. Basically, is what I'm saying. It sort of capped off breach cutter almost in a way. Whereas if they dipped their toes into any of the other weapons, it would have been a bit more opening of the floodgates type of thing. I feel like the other weapons are far more fragile. I think for engineer, I think the breach cutter is the most solid, and Spinning Death is just something that could have done with a little bit. So maybe that actually rationalizes the lack of other changes for engineer, because they would need to be more substantial. The breach cutter is the only one where the changes could be this small.
Which is why I think just kind of how it should go. Next season, we should be looking at the engineer getting a lot of stuff, just because having your character, like the changes they made this season, as we'll get into, and as I think everyone knows, were some of the best things they did. Right? It
Very
really
popular.
gave the hurricane and like the boomstick a new breath of life. Right? Like, I mean, Damwell gave them both like a new overclock, and how much saves did for those weapons. And it is just kind of saying that, like, Engineer as a character, there's no real reason to have chosen to play him over the other ones for this season. Like, there's nothing really new that happened.
Is why I'm not actually yearning for new overclocks as much, assuming that we're going to get this at least for a couple seasons. Like having changes like this, even if it's just the same amount, ideally not less, alongside something like a perk rework would be very, very satisfying from an equipment perspective. Like very. Because this almost was not that this was ultimately enough for people. It's just that this is all they could get, so it was almost like it was enough. This stuff is very fulfilling for people somehow, and not. And I say somehow. I don't know why, but I'm with those people. I find this stuff very, very tantalizing. It's yeah. Anyway,
The plus 1 to 2 ammo or 2 ammo was not exactly tantalizing for most people, to the point where I doubt many people would even remember that this got changed.
hey, look, man, I'm not forgetting it. I've been using it a bit more, and it's good. So,
yeah,
yay for spinning death, yes. But let's not dawdle too long on the most insignificant change. It's not.
Well, I think that's why we would dawdle on it, though, right?
Yeah, that's good. Not a bad reason.
But yeah. So let's move on to some middling ones now, I assume, right?
The Thunderhead, which you might have forgotten about because I did.
That was some good stuff though, and that was early on as well, wasn't it? Stuff they did for this.
I can't remember.
I think it was the first patch where they. It was just the 2 overclocks, right?
It's sort of the Nadir and the Zenith. Nadir being the lowest point, Zenith being the highest point. Both got sort of a bit of a reality check of sorts. Those being Carpet Bomber and Neurotoxin Payload. If we find our good friend here, I mean, annoyingly enough, this doesn't actually have the numbers. Carpet Bomber changed the explosion radius bonus from a flat value to a percentage to significantly expand it when taken with the range upgrade, the AoE range upgrade. And they did the same thing for the AoE damage of Carpet Bomber. Now, okay, I'm actually going to need to, stupidly enough, I actually eliminated the numbers that we had in place already to tell me what was changed. That's not a good idea, because I'd like to see what we originally had.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to undo pretty much everything I did. Oh shit. Okay. I've sort of hit a point, an annoying point, which is I actually changed the Thunderhead numbers so long ago that it actually was before the like sorting out the Sabata. So I'm just gonna leave that as is. Now, okay, I remember
Neurotoxin was probably a 5.
Neurotoxin was 5. No, totally. Neurotoxin was 5. I reckon Carpet Bomb was probably a 2. Yeah, I think it was the only 2. It definitely wasn't a 1 because that wouldn't have been correct anyway. Okay, so we're working with Carpet Bomber having been a 1, and we take it now. I mean, you take the. There's no reason to not to take them as well. Yeah, 2.9 effect radius, which is a lot actually. When it's not like it's just more than it sounds. Although I think the damage is still not too dissimilar from what it was before. I think it's like 1 more because you get to 15. There's 14.9 there. Either way, I guess it's just a 3 now. I guess.
Yeah,
it's not insanely better, but it is almost better enough where it's worth taking in place of, or as well, or just as worth taking as splintering shells. Maybe. It could still be a low 3. That's the thing. But I see no reason. The changes are notable enough where it's going to get bumped up, and that makes it a 3. That's basically how I see it. Can't say I'm in love with it. I'm definitely not. But whatever.
It was one of the first things I used because I remember my driller was needed promoting at the beginning of the season, and I remember liking it slightly more than I used to, which I guess carries over to being slightly better than it used to.
Wow. Theoretical maximum multi-target damage 109,000. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, maybe we don't need to. Okay, but I guess it does actually play into these mods a little bit. So although they're already all freeze, I don't think that changes that. I think I was teetering on actually, if I remember correctly, I was somewhat teetering on actually having the AoE ones be slightly lower because I think there was a bit of us almost agreeing that the single target stuff was better, except Radius, which does obviously benefit Neurotoxin, even though it technically doesn't. But with Neurotoxin, you're probably, for example, you're probably going to take rate of fire or damage, direct damage, and that hasn't changed. I guess it's just making it more valuable on the ones that. The AoE stuff is basically for obviously Splintering Shells, Carpet Bomber, and this, which can be pushed in whichever direction you want, I guess. So I don't think they actually change. It's a very, very balanced mod selection, and if anything, it's sort of only bolstered the ones that were teetering on being slightly worse options. So, although this is still a 1. Do you remember the damage in tier 1 being a 1? Can you remember that? Although,
not really.
then the magazine was a 3, and then the ammo was a 5. That is the Thunderhead's only problem. It's tier 1, genuinely.
Yeah, well, especially now, since this slightly underpowered overclock is now reasonable, and the quite overpowered overclock is, I guess, less, but not by much.
It wasn't by much. Okay, I can't. Well, we need to look at the changes. Reduce the AoE size bonus, added an ammo penalty, removed the direct damage penalty, however, and also increased the AoE damage penalty slightly. Now, I'm of the opinion that they still didn't do it exactly how I would have done it, because obviously them removing the direct damage penalty and sort of nerfing the AoE parts a little bit told me that the idea there was it's becoming a bit more of a apply it like one by one, but it's obviously not still that, because you still have a small like AoE radius bonus anyway. But reducing the ammo was the biggest thing that was probably needed to be done to check it in anyway at all.
Yeah,
obviously the only
it was the absurd ammo efficiency that's why it was a 5, why it was an unrivaled pick that everyone knew about. Like, you could easily do like a deep dive elite without going a resupply, thanks to Neurotoxin payload. Like, it was just ungodly amounts of ammo with ungodly amounts of damage.
I imagine that it's probably not as popular as a pick on deep dives now though, because of mainly because of rivals, because you could get a rival presence in the deep dive. But that's the only, and I thought we kind of came to the agreement that it was the rating was based purely on its maximum strength, which was absolutely a 5. But I still can't help but consider those things, the things that it can't really affect. Although, in truth, it is kind of just robots. Really, obviously the ammo penalty hurts it a little bit if you happen to be using it against Rockpox, because the thing that makes the Thunderhead okay against Rockpox is just having a lot of ammo. The Neurotoxin is not going to do much to them, is it? Let's be honest. But
well, the thing is it's actually slightly better against robots now, right? Now that it doesn't actually reduce your direct damage, you can use the Thunderhead to just.
That is true. That is true. Although you don't even have to, obviously. But you're not going to take it into an industrial sabotage, at least. Certainly. But it doesn't change much. It's I think we would be doing Ghost Ship a bit of disservice by saying that this is still a problem. As in, it shouldn't be a 5, right?
It's still strong though.
It's still very strong.
Like a 4.
It is absolutely still a 4. It has not particularly gotten worse. It's not too dissimilar from the Spinning Death thing, where it was still the right. It was still the right thing to do, even if it didn't change that much. But yeah.
I mean, the 100 ammo, I would argue, is still not enough, but it tackled it where it needed it, and has slightly dented it from being the most overpowered shit in the game to being an incredibly strong pick still, but not unbridled.
Yeah, it's still kind of in most ways it still does what it used to do. I guess
Yeah.
it really is just the ammo. It's the main thing, for being honest.
It doesn't last as long.
No.
Which I think was important. But it was pretty cool how they came out of the gate, because I'm pretty sure it was the first thing with buffing one of the weakest parts of the Thunderhead and nerfing the strongest.
Yeah.
It showed that they do kind of know the game that they're playing vaguely. You know what I mean? Which I think for the Thunderhead is fair enough, because the Thunderhead is quite an easy weapon to kind of tell what's strong and what's weak.
Yeah, because even though I talked about how that tier 1 is still a bit of a problem, I would say Thunderhead is one of the weapons that there's no reason to prioritize it anymore from a balancing perspective, right?
Yeah.
You could still call what Neurotoxin does somewhat overpowered, but at the same time, it's just not enough for it to still be a problem, in my opinion. I think the Thunderhead is in a good place where I wouldn't for a second blame them for putting a pin in it, because if I was in their position, I would put a pin in it as well. I would definitely be focusing on other weapons now. Which is why I do not mind what they did. I actually see this as very similar to, obviously this addressed more than one overclock, but I don't see this as too dissimilar from what they did with the Breach Cutter, where I think those two weapons should not be touched now, pretty much. Not that there aren't things that you can do. There are, but it's minimal compared to every other weapon, actually. Not that every other weapon is bad at all, but there's still more you can do with literally every other weapon, in my opinion. I think they're the most solid weapons, genuinely. And this sort of just confirmed it. It just really put a pin in them not needing to be addressed until something else makes them look weak. That's the only time you would need. I don't know how that would even happen. That's also us being done with the Thunderhead and the Breach Cutter for a while, I guess.
Oh yeah, but you know, they did do a little bit more with another Gunner primary, really, didn't they? Gunner got it pretty good.
I can't deny that they did more with the Hurricane, definitely. There were only 2 overclocks addressed. Not that those weren't the ones that needed to be addressed, because they were. And plasma burster missiles, which we gave a 1 before. Yeah. It's so right. Okay, this is interesting because everything else is a 3. Basically, everything else. Manual guidance cutoff was a 2. Now it's rocket barrage, obviously, and plasma burst missiles was a 1. And I think they're probably both just 3s now. I think which is really awkward. Which is I can't really deny that, but maybe that just is the case. So plasma burster missiles is, well, the actual changes, I guess, are somewhat complicated, although it's only 2 bullet points. Increasing the number of hits a single missile can deliver before expiring is obviously a very direct buff, but they did the biggest thing in that plasma burster missiles was never literally too weak, necessarily. It just had a really big, I would argue, bug. I don't think it wasn't technically a bug, but in my opinion, it is something that got fixed. It's written here as guidance system update that prevents missiles from hitting the ground while swimming around a target. As long as you are aiming at something, they can't be destroyed. The missiles themselves will not be destroyed by hitting the ground, which is an extremely important change because it means it can actually be used against enemies from the ground. Basically, it's
be used against enemies. It was kind of in one of those positions before. That, I mean, you just can't use it most of the time.
Yeah. It's
It's great thing for a primary gun.
No, it's very strong now. It genuinely is very, very powerful. It's good at pretty much everything. Slightly better at single target. I mean, it's. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, it's an easy 3, by the way. I want to point that out, but part of me would almost put it higher, which is really scary. Although I don't know how much I feel that, but I kind of just think it might actually be that strong, but I don't know because think about it. In the experimental branch for season 1, when people first used the Hurricane, plasma burster missiles was considered even stronger than neurotoxin, for example. It was ridiculously powerful in its very first iteration, which kind of means to me that maybe that's still in there in some capacity. At the same time, I don't know if I care enough to put it higher than 3.
I don't have a horse in this race. I tried them both like once, and I can't stand using them. I just generally don't like the Hurricane total.
That is very sad
But
to me because I'm finding an ever increasing joy in the Hurricane as time goes on. Yeah.
and would you say that these two overclocks has helped a lot in that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Although it was a separate discovery that actually made that start. That actually kickstarted that. It was a completely different overclock, known as fragmentation missiles. Do not underrate it, please. Okay, so yeah, okay. God, it's really good though. It's not weak in any situation now. Plasma bursters. It's fantastic for a lot of. It not only is it just great in general, it's something that excels at pretty much every specific thing. Specific things being pretty much any sort of encounter outside of general swarms, which it's still good at. Like a Mactera swarm, fantastic. Any boss, fantastic, including the caretaker, and also pretty much every state. Like both the special stages on like the Hearthstone, for example. Great against Rockpox too. It kind of just it's very good generally, and it also kind of excels in pretty much every specific scenario as well.
Sounds pretty good then.
Yeah. It's not actually overpowered. There are plenty of great options as well, but Plasma Bursters might be the best overall.
You also have like, the good ammo amount to back it up.
It's got pretty decent ammo efficiency. That used to almost be a problem, but it's very efficient now. You can take out like 2, but I think you can actually take out 2 Mactera spawn with 1 missile, actually, which is kind of nuts.
Yes.
So
sounds like a 4.
It is definitely a 4. Because all the others are 3s. And okay, Rocket Barrage, however, is interesting. It is fun. I mean, I don't know how you didn't have fun with it. I don't know if you did or not, but it's absolutely a lot of fun. It's still it annoys me in some ways. First of all, okay, Hurricane getting ammo overclock is pretty brilliant. Just straight up. Well, it's just a good thing. It's also an unstable one. Plus 216 max ammo. That is a lot. It's still it is doing something very bizarre though that a big ammo overclock should not do, which is it's a flat value as opposed to a percentage, which means there is no reason to take max ammo with it. If you look at the difference, it's still just plus 72, whereas the overclock is adding 216, which obviously plus 72 is not bad without it. It's going from 288 to 360, but you want damage. I mean, you can easily look at the differences in the damage and the ammo, and see why you would take increased damage. And it's come to pass that direct damage is the best thing for Rocket Barrage as well, because Rocket Barrage really is just playing into the concept of just if you could just get the damage out fast enough, that's just as good as having a lot of damage. It's just a shot. You can kill a Praetorian very, very quickly. You can kill it more reliably because it can almost kill it before it actually starts to turn around after being stunned. That's basically how it goes. Jet Fuel Homebrew cannot do that. It's honestly comparable speed of killing to Salvo Module. So yeah, but it's also not great against swarms, and it's it's disabling the guidance again. It's disabling yeah, which I think we take issue with, don't we, Tyler? Don't we?
I do find it.
You just think it's dumb, don't you?
They add like all these new mechanics and then they turn them off at every given opportunity.
Yeah, so 3 of these turn off guidance, and Jet Fuel Homebrew basically does as well. Let's be honest. It's just a bit bizarre. It's still very solid. I don't think it actually has any huge issues. I don't think it's perfect either. But it's definitely a good enough pick to be just a flat 3. Certainly. But not all is sunshine and rainbows in Hurricane Land forever. I think this little fella here has overstayed his welcome. I think after discovering how good fragmentation missiles actually is, and the other clean and the complete bottom of the barrel of the Hurricane have been brought up to an acceptable, if not pretty great level, suddenly the thing that only adds fire rate is really lagging behind in not bolstering any particular aspect of the Hurricane in a meaningful way. Which is why I'm tempted to bring it down to a 2. Not that it's bad, but in comparison to these other 3s, look, all of these are 3s except from plasma bursters. Overtune feed mechanism doesn't really stand up to them, if I'm being honest. This is a case of a clean being perfectly fine, but it has such a fantastic array of other overclocks that there's no reason to just take the clean that is just a clean. The clean that isn't actually adding any strength to the weapon. It's become clear that there's no reason to take it anymore. No strong reason. So I'm going to knock it down to a 2, personally. And I know you probably don't have any input. You probably
not in the slightest.
Good. That means no one can stop me.
That's true. Except maybe the comment.
Yeah, whatever. Well,
to that at that point.
I mean, I guess we could at some point do something that looks at all the comments across all these videos. Maybe. Not a terrible idea. That wouldn't be particularly soon, but maybe before season 5. Anyway, I guess hold on. I have been still showing the things in between, so this is what the Hurricane is now. Although I guess we could briefly. I'd have to do some quick thinking here about whether or not any of the mods have changed at all. We've got tier 3 is the only one I can imagine changing. Although it probably is going to stay the same. It's only because magazine size we just thought it was fine. But plasma burster missiles, it's better to take magazine size than fire rate. And obviously plasma burster missiles would not have been any kind of boom to any given mod before. But now it is. I don't know how much that really changes though. It's probably the only one. Because I wouldn't take increased magazine size and rocket barrage either. I found honestly fire rate to be better somehow. Somehow. Very bizarre considering how much it adds. Times 3 fire rate. Tier 2 is perfectly fine. I think tier 1 is as well. And tier 4, genuinely. Although tier 4. No, actually it's fine. I think the only thing I was thinking is because if we look at tier 3, we've got this is a 2 and this is a 4, and I just think one of them could change, maybe. But because I can't decide, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Sorry for wasting your time. Anyway,
all right.
That brings us to
Right, yeah.
The bitch. Sorry, it's because I'm showing it on screen right now. The big title card, the Sabata. Wow, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Anyway, wow, look at all these. Look at all this. Wow, completely changed. It's completely changed. It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me.
Ow. Yeah. So, the Sabata.
So this is basically, this is going to be a bit, not even reminiscent. This is basically, at least for the mods, this is going to be done exactly how we've done them before. Although, maybe a bit more boring. Because, let's be honest, tier 1, 2, it's kind of whack. So we got this one, which is just decreased base spread, which is that's the first shot thing, isn't it? That's not this one. This one's good.
Oh yeah, that one is your first shot is pinpoint, and then it doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, then we've just got +4 magazine size, which is useful for, what are in my opinion the two best overclocks, basically, which is these two, which both produce magazine size, and then also for other things, it's almost just better to double down as well. And if you want accuracy, in my opinion, it's worth taking accuracy over other things if you want accuracy. So this mod this one gets decapitated basically.
I don't get it. I don't know how it survived. I'm going for I wouldn't say 1 because I think I understand somewhat of the point. If you want your first shot to 100% hit and you're aiming dead on, then it works. But it's not often that that's really useful because there's not much the Sabata does in one hit. Right?
No.
I don't know. I guess if you have explosive reload, you might only need 1 shot for a web spreader, right?
Zam.
That would be the only time that's going to be useful. Yeah. I also don't know how that works with the 2-shot thing. If that is then the first shot, which is 2 shots, is pinpoint, or your second shot in that first shot will do whatever the hell it wants. Point is, a generous 2-3, maybe.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I think the magazine is not it's not exceptional, is it? It's just +4 magazine size, but
it's just that the other option is so abysmal that that's fine. Either way, I don't think it matters most of the time. It's a quite pathetic choice.
Aww.
It is, that's what I mean. When you think about a direct, focused rework on a single weapon, I was hoping for better than what the Sabata got. It got some good stuff, right? And we'll get to that. But it is not flawless, which I would argue whenever they have changed up some of the other ones, they came out pretty damn clean. Like the GK and the Sludge Bomb. They were beautiful after their direct focus. Sabata, it could do with another one, right? It's that kind of not great.
I'd rather they don't waste their time.
I guess, yeah.
As in, definitely not next time, if you don't mind.
No, yeah, as mentioned, Engineer should really get a bit of love. Plus, he's got his own weapon that needs it. A weapon that is also the Sabata. But yeah.
That is actually really fucking funny, though.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. 2 of my most hated weapons are just the same weapon.
It's so unfortunate. It's so dumb as well, because it's literally just the words. They just decided to have that be something for no good reason.
The stubby.
But yeah, we're talking about the Lock 1 smart rifle, yeah. Yeah.
No, that was not at all.
Yeah, we're talking about the PGL, yeah. Yeah.
Tier 2.
Ammo or damage?
Who? Right, well, I think...
The hell are you doing?
I'm closing the blinds, because it's bright.
That's exactly what it sounds like you're doing, so fair enough. That's it.
Good. Ammo is good. At the gate. You got explosive reload, boom. Right, that's a given. You don't be needing damage. If you're using the trank ones, you want ammo, because your goal isn't to kill them, it's to stun them.
It is for me.
So you want to do that more times. The automatic fire, the amount of shots you shoot, ammo is arguably preferable to damage, but either way, it's not a given damage. My point being, there's no real unstable build that wants you picking damage.
Can I just point out, any build that uses fucking hell.
You're just laughing at birds.
No, look.
What?
The amount of text.
Oh, right. Yeah. We'll get to that.
Modest.
Yeah. But
so anyway, sorry. Just about corrosive toxic catalyst. That's obviously an ammo thing as well, pretty much, because it's not actually giving a damage bonus. So, and that sort of applies to any of them. I mean, I think one's perfectly fine if you just want to go for that is oversized magazine. If you don't want any bells and whistles that this lot bring, which is perfectly fine given that it stays fairly stable. You have lots of shots to do that with. What am I saying? Whatever. I think I don't know where that puts it. That makes it sound more like that. Yeah, that makes it sound like more of a 4 for the ammo than a 3 and a 2. But it doesn't. I don't know if that inherently makes the damage a 2 or a 3. I don't know what that makes it. I mean, remember this is. I think this changes the breakpoint. Remember for swarmers. And let's be honest, Tyler. I think in damage in tier 4, I think the damage is worse even.
Yeah, no, because in damage, if you're trying to kill things with a Sabata like straight up, you're not picking damage. You're picking the weak point bonus.
Which
right?
I'm saying is it's going to be even worse in tier 4.
Yeah. Oh, 4-3. If we're being kind to that damage, although I almost wouldn't be, because genuinely I don't know when I wouldn't take that ammo.
No, I mean I noticed I had a pretty good time doubling down on damage for volatile bullets, but it still hurts me.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a build that exists, but yeah, I don't know, probably more 4-2. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, but the damage. My main thing, and I'll say it now, is that the mods has like a lot of damage, a lot of like weak point bonus. Like they added an inherent weak point bonus, didn't they? And then they gave the mod to like boost it. Like the mods and the base Sabata implies that you can use it to like kill things and like just weak point kill and stuff like that. But there's no overclock that really encourages that. Really, obviously the closest is the automatic fire, which boosts its fire rate, which makes it kill quicker. But also it completely tanks the whole accuracy part of the Sabata.
I'll point out they increased it did have an inherent weak point bonus that they increased.
Yeah. So they made it more, more like damage. I think they kind of did some silly malarkey like that, or they moved the damage around. They gave the weak point bonus is better, like all that stuff, and that's good and all. But ultimately, it doesn't have a overclock that really helps that and doubles down on that. The best you've got is homebrew powder, right?
Yeah.
That's the best thing, and it's not the end of the world. But ultimately, it will pale in comparison to the other builds that do have an
okay. I don't know if I'm inherently gonna fight your rating, but I might be inclined to refute a little bit of what you said about the unstables in the context of tranquilizer rounds, which it's slower anyway. So I sort of use it as more of like a heavy hitter type thing. And I've actually had a good time with that. Even with your corrosive catalyst as well. I've done sort of 2 versions of it. And you're not gonna get through all that ammo really, basically, is what I'm saying. That's something.
Yeah.
Where I definitely prefer having the damage and tranquilizer round. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
We'll go for 4-3 then.
I think I want to do that because it's gonna be different in tier 4, as in you'll see.
All right, you'll all see.
That's right.
Tier 3 got a spice.
Woo! Tier 3, baby. Oh boy. Oh boy. We got Reculio Compensatorio, which is actually a really good accuracy mod. Minus 30%, minus reduced spread and half recoil, and you notice it. That feels very good with any build that relies on accuracy, which is most of them. But clarification on the word rely there doesn't mean it's essential. It's very good. It's just anyway.
Yeah. It's a 3.
It's an easy 3. I want to point out it's an easy 3.
It's just set out the playing field. It's a 3. Here's something that I think we disagree on, right? I find 2 round bursts to essentially be a given. I genuinely have no idea why you wouldn't use it, like at all. Like it is such a solid pick for basically everything.
Minus 0.25 mass.
What does that even
I
mean?
have no fucking idea. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, obviously we know that it doesn't actually mean anything, but like, if you take it half your rate of fire, the burst itself, it actually has 20 rate of fire. So it is basically instantaneous. It is 2 bullets at once, realistically. Supposedly the second bullet, if it hits the same enemy, gets plus 350% armor breaking. Which,
well, I think that
isn't
there a glitch?
not work?
Or not? No, it was the opposite. It was that you can miss the first shot, and the second shot would still do armor breaking. I think that was it was like a it was stronger than it should have been, which I'm not sure if they patched or not. But I don't know. It's just so nice with the Sabata because, as mentioned, the Sabata is a weapon that does very little with one shot, but 2 shots, it starts doing things. Right? That's why I think they did this. 2 shots, it could kill something. 2 shots, like embedded detonators,
Hold on.
Fuck up a good amount of things.
I still can't really get that you get away with the explosive reload thing, mainly because I personally have genuinely found the web splitter thing to be the most valuable breakpoint that introduces the one shot web splitters. That's just very personal, but that's what I've found.
You're still one-shotting web splitter. You're just using another shot.
I know, and I don't like that. I would definitely not use it with that. I don't exactly know when I would use 2-round bursts.
Because the amount of breakpoints that you then obtain from picking it, because 1 tap and that's an acid splitter, right? I would value acid splitters higher than web splitters, despite the fact that the web splitters killed us twice the other day.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious though.
Yeah, but I think they're also just normal grunts. I think maybe just 2 shot, and they tend to be ready for a boom. Not that I'd want to do that.
Well, but, I was going to mention that is one of the breakpoints that it adds. That's irrelevant to explosive reload, where you can only. Well, it's not actually that it changes the damage. Remember, it's just that it changes the fact that you can technically kill a grunt with 1 pull of the trigger.
1 tap.
I just don't see much of a difference.
It's because you have to aim twice with shooting 2 shots individually, but with 1 shot, it's 1 shot twice.
You have a higher chance of not having to aim twice. You don't inherently have to aim twice if you're quick enough, which is most scenarios. You just double tap.
No, because then your recoil kicks it, and it will start fucking you up, or your flare or whatever.
What recoil?
There's a mod that gets rid of it, so you know.
In the same tier, yeah. Also, obviously you wouldn't use it with an automatic fire. We know that, right?
I do. Most people do.
Do they? What is that though? What is?
It's quicker, I think, and more manageable.
Funny. Yeah, I guess it would be quicker.
Yeah, it is just good. The tranquilizer rounds. You roll that 50
also
in 1 time.
Hold on, I just want to. Yeah. Also, that I don't want to waste another shot though of tranquilizer rounds, and also explosive reload. I'm sorry, but I can't. I don't. If I'm dealing with an enemy that
can even get through all your ammo, what's wasting a shot? But it comes a lot closer to guaranteeing it by tapping the trigger once. Yeah.
Does
you roll the dice twice in that instance instead of just once?
Also, explosive reload. I do not want to be dealing with enemies that could potentially go down in 1 shot and just using another. Ammo is far more precious for explosive reload anyway. You only have like 60 shots actually if you use the burst fire for explosive reload. I think. Yeah. Well, if you had 12, that's 66 shots. 60. And like, I don't want to be using it against something where 2 would be like massively because of the way explosive reload works. Like it's a lot of damage per shot. It's like 42, plus like the direct damage. That's a lot of wasted damage if you waste bullet, which you easily could.
Not like I don't know. This is just something that we've gone through before. We cannot agree on this. I see the 2-round burst as being a given, and you should always run it. You think that it's always a bad idea. And I think it's weird that we can't agree on this like at all.
I think it's like you think I'm grasping at straws, and I sort of think that you just don't actually have any ground to stand on.
Yeah,
Because
well,
I do personally feel with slightly more. I do somehow, which is very arrogant, but I do feel that my opinion's more agreeable because I don't see it as weak. I just don't see it as a given. I see it as a good option.
I don't.
I just see it as an
What are the other
alternative.
options?
Not using it.
Recoil is not needed if you use the 2-shot because you
Vice
just kill
versa.
everything then and there.
Vice versa.
No, it tails in other. I don't know. And then obviously the reload can go fuck itself, right? We like who the fuck's using reload?
Sure. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. It's like at least a 2, or most a 2.
It's a nice little quick reload. I mean,
yeah, but you're right. Right now, your fire rate or
none of them
accuracy
actually make the reload longer. None of the overclocks make the reload longer, so it's got that on its side.
Isn't that the opposite of that? In that there's never really an opportunity where you need to pick it because the reload is unwieldy.
What did I say? What did I say?
Did it was on that side.
I don't think I meant to say that.
Yeah. Basically, we'll give it a kind 2, I think. Because yeah, it's not bad. If you want quicker reload, it'll do that, and it does an all right job of it. Right? I mean, 0.6 is not exactly.
It brings it down from roughly 2 seconds to 1.3 seconds, which is probably noticeable. Probably.
Well, yeah, probably noticeable, but not impactful.
No.
I don't think.
No.
Like, you're not gonna get saved if you reload that amount of quicker.
No.
Yes, I don't know. I think 3. I mean, we could go for 3 because I don't know. I don't think it's broken. I just think it's the only way the Sabata feels good. I don't think it makes it strong. I just think it makes the Sabata usable.
And is that well? Hold on, but not usable in the outwards, not usable in the direct strength sense of the word.
No, just like I don't know. It makes the gun go from a shitty fucking pea shooter that doesn't do anything to something that does do something because it's now doing double.
I feel like I think that your feeling of it being a better option is coming from it making it being the only thing that makes it feel good to use.
Yeah,
I feel like that's why you think it's better, but I don't think that's good enough reason to think it's better.
You want to do occur quicker. One of the issues with Sabata in that it takes a year and a half to fucking do everything because it's a shitty little fucking cum gun.
Maybe hold on. Maybe I should point out, Tyler. Maybe I should point out. I don't find accuracy insanely valuable. I'm not actually fighting for this. I'm just fighting for it not 2-round burst not being essential. That's all I'm fighting for. Which doesn't it actually rule off it being a 4. I just want to point out.
No, I don't know. I don't think it inherently makes it stronger. Like, I don't know. I think it's preference. It's just changes the way the Sabata works. And I think it changes it into a way that makes it a weapon I want to use instead of not that. And I think, I don't know, I think they added it for a reason, right? Because, yeah, it does allow the Sabata to essentially one-shot things. Obviously, it's not technically one-shotting things, but it is. You would say that the M1000 charge shot, killing something in one shot, was one-shotting, wouldn't you? You would say that's one-shotting. Like most people would, right?
Yeah, I don't like it though. I don't like that. I kind of feel like that is wrong.
But that we call it one-shotting.
It's one-shotting, but it's like one-shotting is a term that has been severely like over. It's almost like it's not that the definition has changed, but it kind of means something that it doesn't. It means more than it should, right? Because I'm always like, yeah, sure, you're one-shotting, but you have a lot less ammo than you would if you were using a different weapon. The only reason it can one-shot is because it has more damage condensed into less ammo. It's not. It doesn't inherently. You know, that's more to do with the M1000. That's got nothing to do with this. Like my take on that. So doesn't have anything to do with this.
Uses that ammo in a single instance, and therefore gaining all of the positives of using that ammo just in a short amount of time, and plus armor breaking apparently as well.
Apparently, supposedly.
I think maybe like I know it is. I think it is a better weapon when it has the 2-shot on it.
I think I can concede that it's probably improved in most scenarios.
Sure. And Uvis would occur as well because we have gone through this. It's up to you because I don't know. Yeah, 3 or 4. Like, I think they did it on purpose. They added it because they knew it would make the gun actually good. Like it essentially makes it reach.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I was thinking about a couple of things because obviously, you might on face value not think that it would pair well with the other new player, Neurocreative Catalyst, until you realise that the single shot version of Neurocreative Catalyst doesn't do a huge amount of damage. So if you can at least have, like, as in, that's usually just when it's just a single grunt. But if you can somehow get 2 shots of it in an instant, that's going to help the explosion a fair bit in a very short window. I don't know.
What you do, because I guess basically you sludge, right, and like you probably anything that didn't get like hit directly. So they just kind of slowly die. You then just like bang, 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 or like bang, 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 and then you hit like 4 to 5 grunts that are now easily just reload, boom, and like the entire horde just.
Can I just point out that they could have made it so you actually dual wield the Barthas instead of having it be 2-man burst?
Yeah, you could point that out. I think that would be fair.
I mean, even more fun.
I think they could have tried claiming that that's what you're doing, like, but then you can't see it. But I don't think people would like that.
No.
And maybe Harry, you can imagine that that's what you're doing.
Can't. My imagination doesn't work. The things that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yo, shut the fuck up, kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I gave 2-man burst a 4.
Alright. Because it is better. It adds a shit ton of armor breaking.
Why does explosive reload make the total damage of that low? It looks so depressing. Do you know that's not what it actually means? But oh dear, good god, good lord. Okay, yeah, tier 4. Wow. Okay, we got weak point damage. We got direct damage. We got more ammo. These are exactly the same as they are in this tier, except we have this one, which brings it up to a whopping 100% weak point damage bonus. The highest in the game.
75, and I thought there's no way it's 75, and apparently it is.
It is 75, baby. It is absolutely 75.
If you are trying to kill with the Sabata, good boy, or like trying to like straight up just you point, shoot, that damage is being done, that enemy is dying. Like, what? Why wouldn't you pick this? I don't understand. Like, I guess if you have shit fuck aim, I guess, right? It's probably the only way. But yeah, no, I think this is like a 4, and then probably like a maybe not even a 2, and then another 4. I don't think I'm weird for saying that, right? Like it's just, why are you sitting in silence?
I think they should be 4s or 3s.
I guess.
Because it's kind of just like, if it's a 2, you already know that the other 2 are better. Like, it's having the greater difference between them paints the picture that there's no reason to use the direct damage one over either of the other 2. I guess it makes
Yeah,
more of
but
a
I don't
point.
think
I
both of
guess.
them are strong, right? They're not just threes. They're good. 75% weak point damage bonus and ammo. For some of them, that ammo is very, very guaranteed.
I know. I mean,
That you,
what I was just saying is that having a greater difference between them, that being 4-2 and 4, helps make the point.
I know, but I also think that it's just true. Like, I think that the weak point bonus is really strong, and the ammo is good.
Yeah, and
Quite good.
the high numbers help illustrate that fact. 'Cause that's what we're doing. We're illustrating facts with numbers, I guess. I don't know what we're trying to do.
Our opinions.
By facts, we mean our biases, our very strong biases.
Yeah.
That I genuinely think are objectively correct, at least when it comes to mine.
All right. You're the man. The egotist.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to maybe put a nail in the coffin. It's like, yeah, if we direct damage thing, obviously you want hollow point bullets. The thing is, in this tier, I would probably only use the ammo one with explosive reload. I find that damage very, 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 very delicious. Personally,
I think that's fair.
that
I
weak
think the
point
issue comes
damage.
down to explosive reload is the best build, so the mod you would pick on the best build is preferable. Yeah. Which I know you'd like to step up to me on that, but tough shit.
Shut up.
No, that would make for a very shitty video.
Yep. No, no, Master Wayne. We need to make more videos.
What?
Some men aren't looking for anything logical. Some men just want to watch the world corrode.
Just some men want to watch the world neuro-corrosive catalyst.
Master Wayne, my balls are falling off.
Tear fire.
Doing that impression makes me tear up. It's like part of it. It's like... Tear fire. Volatile bullets. Up 50% direct damage dealt to burning.
The whole thing in the alpha voice.
Bonus damage is fire element, and that's the same amount of heat, extending the burn duration. Master Wayne. Okay, volatile bullets is unchanged. We've got a newcomer, blow through round, +1 blow through. Great. Oh my. Should I read all that?
Do not read. You can read it, but not in the voice.
Neurocorrosive toxic catalyst. I feel like maybe it might help us understand it. Maybe. Hold on. Shooting an enemy that is afflicted with corrosion, sludge puddle, or neurotoxin will apply 2 status effects. First one lasts 5 seconds, and each bullet that hits will increase the DPS of it by 3.2, up to a maximum of 30 stacks of 96 DPS. Jesus Christ. After its duration expires, you must apply a new instance and start stacking it again. The second status effect lasts 4.5 seconds, and its duration can be refreshed. If an enemy dies while the second one is active, then they will explode and damage nearby enemies proportional to the number of active stacks on the first effect. The explosion does 60 plus 20 stacks of typeless damage, and the radius is 0.5 plus squirt stacks meters. That's what it says. That helped me understand it a little bit. Where the damage of the explosion only occurs when the second status effect is active. The damage is dictated by how many stacks of the first status effect you have applied.
Damage and radius, which is pretty cool.
And radius, yes, that is actually important.
The quicker you can apply those statuses, like the longer that they've been going for, the bigger the bang. Which is why I've not got this build, because I've not got enough builds to make it. But I kind of want to slap that onto full auto and try and get just release it into a Praetorian, who's probably on fire as well, I imagine. And
ideally,
just have Giga explode.
Wait, why did you be on fire? What's that going to do?
Because you probably wouldn't die within 5 seconds otherwise. So hopefully him being on fire, the Sabata, and the status effect would all kick in and kill it, and it'd explode near the end.
Tyler,
And
it needs to be sludged.
no, it needs to be neurotoxic.
Yes, you could do that, but that would be annoying to just use neurotoxin grenade.
No.
As I do not want to factor the neurotoxins in at all, because otherwise that's going to make things really awkward. Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, you don't even need the sludge pump. You shouldn't be using it without the sludge pump.
Yeah, but you can.
Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion.
Well, the thing is, the neurotoxin grenades, you have like 4 of them, and they're huge. So if you're in a situation where you're like, you know what, the time is now, you slap that bad boy down, and you could tear them up, and also tear through your ammo if you wanted to. You could run out of Sabata ammo before you run out of the neurotoxin grenades, because you apply it to a lot of enemies in a big area for a while. Point is, you don't even need the sludge pump. But it's best with it by far, and it's also the best by far. Easily the best thing they did to the Sabata this time round. It is fun and good and interesting, and that's something the Sabata isn't used to, other than explosive reload. And strong. And you pair the two, and you've got a fun combo. Where as soon as you explode the mofos, they also then explode, which essentially makes it feel like your embedded detonators is just a normal detonator, which is quite nice.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah. Which I think paired with, the other options, I mean, the fire one is still solid. Right? I don't know what we rated it last time. I don't actually remember what the other option was. Oh yeah, it was the stupid +2 corrosion, wasn't it? But the more damage is fine. Using it with fire is stupid, though, considering the things you'd want to do the most damage to are often immune to fire.
It is stupid. It is stupid still. I have I have fix in mind. It should also apply to. It should basically just also apply to enemies being damaged by sticky flames.
I guess.
Caretaker would still be out off limits, but
just an enemy with like any form of heat on them. It doesn't have to be like on fire.
You could do
what that does as well, right? It would do that.
Can we just set everything on fire? The dreadnoughts don't have to take damage from it. If you don't want, just let's set them on fire so that thing actually works. Which is a thing. It is Oh my god, I'm fucking glowing. You can't see my body. I'm like a floating head right now. Master Wayne, I'm going to heaven. It's probably the biggest problem with that mod. I think it still sits very cleanly at 3, and I think due to the fact that you should still almost definitely use it if you're using the flamethrower, which is still a very fair thing to consider. Basically, this is my roundabout way of saying that neurocorrosive catalyst is not a 5, okay? Because it's still limited to the sludge pump for the almost entirely. That can't be ignored. That doesn't mean it's not the best option, but it can potentially, if you are someone who can only use the best option, you're basically going to be forced to use the sludge pump. Huh?
It's a Sabata. It's never going to have a 5 in its. Like, come on, Harry. What gun do you think you're talking about here? Yeah, no, it is like a 4. The fire's a 3, even though it's really not that strong. And I think if it was on any other weapon, people would not like it.
I think the damage should not go understated. It's just not. Those problems are still very present. I found the damage though recently actually does to be quite noticeable.
Against the enemies that you don't really need that much more damage being done to, like the highest thing you can really do it on is like an oppressor, really, right? Like, and you're probably not doing that much with a Sabata anyway.
No, can't really deny that.
Then you have blow through, and why? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. You're a driller. Do you need a +1 blow through on the Sabata?
Guys. It's for killing frozen enemies. Why would you use Burning Nightmare when you could have +1 blow through on Sabata?
Or, the +3 piercing wave cooker. I mean, it is an overclock in all fairness, but it also then has temperature shock.
It's also the wave cooker. It can still hit multiple enemies at once, and the temperature shock effect spreads itself.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think this is the Sabata forgetting to check itself and realize who the fuck it's contending with, and it tried getting away with +1 blow through, which because obviously that doesn't work particularly well with explosive reloads. You don't get 2 status effects there. Full auto, its recoil is probably going to not help with the whole hitting multiple enemies, like lining that up. So I assume, does the stun chance work with blow through?
better.
Even if it does, then though, you wouldn't want to be using that overclock with the cryo cannon. So still not great. I don't know. It is such a odd and Sabata like tier 5. It is boring. It is boring. I don't want to use it. It's boring. Go home. And that's my thoughts on that.
I don't care what we give it as long as it's lower than 3. I don't care.
Oh mate, I'm thinking like 2. Like, I wouldn't hate a 1, but it's probably not that bad. Especially if it does work with the stun thing, that probably would be alright. Although once again, if you want area crowd control, you're a driller. Use your primary. What are you doing? And even if you don't want to do that, what are you using the Sabata for that for? You could be using plasma burn on the EPC, or just using the wave cooker with like max area radius and slowdown. Point is, the fuck are you doing with penetrating on the Sabata? Like, do you realize what gun you're using? What are you playing at? Stop it.
Remember, 1 means unusable.
Yeah, I don't think it's unusable, but I don't think you should ever use it. I think it was a complete misread of the weapon they were adding when they added it.
If I were to make this is very this is heresy of the highest order. But if I were to make any amendment to the rating system, I would probably change 1 from unusable to unpickable. I feel like those are almost different things.
Yeah.
At least unpickable represents more. Would you consider it unpickable? What I'm saying, what I'm asking.
No, because if you're not using the flamethrower or the sludge pump or the neurotoxin grenade, you might as well use blow through, right? That's kind of, I assume, an argument you would hear.
But
yeah,
in that scenario, you shouldn't be using the Sabata. You shouldn't.
Yeah. And if they wanted you to use the Sabata with the cryo cannon, they could have done a more interesting or better blow through. Like, chain hit of a more interesting kind than the overclock, which I also think they should have changed. Like, chain hit is something that they could have reworked into an actual better unstable overclock. Wouldn't have been a bad shout. But that's neither here nor there. Well, it is here. It's saying the Sabata changes they didn't nail it on the head. But yeah, I don't know. We're talking like 3, 1.5, and like a 4.
1.5.
Yeah.
A 1.5.
Fucking eyes. On a technicality, it's not useless, but only because the other 2 are only useful in certain scenarios.
Yeah.
If you happen to not be in those scenarios, it would technically be the thing you would want. But even then, like, I would not be annoyed if I was using the fire or the neurocatalyst and I didn't have those things, right? Like, if I was using the cryo cannon and I still had neurocatalyst or I still had the fire thing, I would not be annoyed like, oh, might as well pick both rounds, because genuinely it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't do enough for me to care. So fuck it. Fuck you. No, fuck it. 1. Fuck that piece of shit. Get out of here.
You can't increase the rate of fire. aside from the 2-round burst. That's
Alright.
weird. All right, fine, 1. I don't care.
Rate of fire is as fast as you can fire, eh?
Not with tranquilizer around.
No, I guess, but that's why they don't have it, because it would only be used for that overclock.
Yeah, which I don't actually remember we gave it before. I hope it was a free because honestly, I haven't really used it for the added slowdown thing, but that's still a very good addition. And they also changed it so that the rate of fire is a flat percentage rather than a flat. No, it's a percentage rather than a flat value, which I don't know how much that really changes either. I don't know if that stops it from like affecting this or something. I don't know what's going on there. Either way, it's I like it more than I used to. But assuming that it had a free before, I don't think that's changed in any way. It might be more of a free. It might be more secure. And I think the Neurocorrosive Catalyst hasn't done anything directly, but that's something that I like as well. A build that I have a slight favouring for a little bit. I actually like that quite a bit. So Frank Browns gets a solid 3 as the only overclock that got any changes. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense.
I mean, the auto and the explosive reload probably couldn't have done with much. I mean, there is an argument for nerfing explosive reload, except for I would have fought for the do not do that, do not do that, do not do that. Bring everything up to that. Do not nerf it.
Exactly. I want one thing. Oversized Magazine currently has a 2. Is that fair?
Yep.
All right.
It sucks.
It sucks.
Like, yeah, it feels horrible to use.
Well, that's the one that increases reload time.
Yeah, blows.
That would be my first thought to use with 2-round burst.
I mean, well, literally, if you're not using homebrew powder is the only one where it's like you're using the default Sabata and you're trying to kill things. If you're not using that, you need to be doing whatever the unstable wants you to do, right? That's the Sabata, which is why the other ones are fucking terrible. Checking here and that one, the ammo. It's like you got more ammo in the mag, but the fuck are you doing with it? Nothing. You got nothing going on.
Yeah, it's technically more stacks of Neurocorrosive Catalyst. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, but you wouldn't get it out in enough time.
No, you probably could get more out from auto fire. You took the reload speed, then definitely, but maybe without it anyway.
Is the amount of ammo you would have? You would already have killed a grunt without the additional magazine size, but you wouldn't be able to kill a Praetorian in time, even if your magazine size allowed that. Right? If you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't really add any more enemies you could kill in one clip within the amount of time. It probably doesn't do much.
Right.
It's such a shit.
Sure. Fine, that can stay as it is. We forgot about Snowball.
Fair.
Where is it? There you are.
What was Snowball before?
Remember. Did I change it? I did. There's nothing there. It's a blank.
Remembered it then. It's better than it was.
It is better.
Snowball changes very, very similar to Spinning Deaths. In that it wasn't already. I mean, it was like slightly lacking, but ultimately not that disliked thing that they made slightly better. This one in a bit more of an interesting way, in that, you know, it used to be that if you snowballed something big that didn't freeze instantly, they would start cooling down and it would get really annoying. But now you actually can start shooting it again after snowballing it to keep it cold, which is good. It essentially made it usable against bigger targets.
I guess so.
Nice.
It hasn't made it something that I want to use. Personally, I still think that I forgot we put tuned cooler as a 4. That sort of feels antithetical to you.
Why?
Because you prefer this so much.
I think I realised this after that, but it works either way.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, actually, I would say the opposite way around, because that really isn't needed with the tier 1. I just picked the Toon Caller and the tier 1 first mod, and that is now my current cryo, because it has more freezing and the longer fire rate.
Yeah, for me, it's just
Like,
going to be, well, it's not going to be Tune Call necessarily, but if they are the same, it's going to be those two. Or Ice Spear, actually. As in, Snowball hasn't become anything to me still.
it's still. I mean, it's not bad though. It's probably a 3. If it wasn't a 3,
Yeah, I think it
it'd be
is, realistically.
Ice Storm and the other shitty one that makes you not be able to freeze anything without it losing pressure. Those two are actively downgrades to the weapon. Straight up worse. You can do less, and the things you do is not anything. It's nothing. You do worse. But Snowball is a lateral move. Um, it's like probably just as good as the default cryo cannon,
But it's still
but
quite
it
different.
specializes in flash freezing,
Yeah,
which is
I
kind of
I noticed that what it is, it's 200 cold or 200 cold damage for 25 ammo, which was one of the changes, by the way, bringing it from 35 down to 25, which is actually important because now it is an equivalent exchange. Um, so if we take the base freezing power, which is 8, that is actually the same. 25 times 8 is 200. Uh,
which is
Unfortunately,
good.
it
It
does
means you
reduce
would then,
ammo though, and obviously you can get like, I don't know, you can get more freezing power other ways.
yeah, shooting it, but it's kind of like how much you appreciate instant freeze. And now, well, that's my issue there though, is that it's not instant. It genuine, I like as much as I would waste so much ammo, it really like shouldn't have a charge up. Like at least not even as long as it is. Like it should be like point half a second, and then it like freezes everything in the area. It should be like a panic button essentially. But right now it's not even good at that. It will just freeze whenever it feels like it in like a couple seconds. Where realistically, if you're not using tuned caller, you probably could have already frozen all the enemies. Really, like I mean, I guess other than range wise, I don't know. It's not great still. It's still not great. Unlike the Spinning Death, that I think it was already great and benefited a little bit. It's slightly more usable now. This one, like Snowball, but it's still not great. But I think that's Cryo Cannon's bigger issue, really.
I still personally want it to be like a charge up thing where you charge it up manually as much as you want, have variable freezing powers, and obviously that can work because it can still be the normal cryo cannon. We have switching firing modes now, and it should take that into account, which I'd love to see more of that for. First of all, I want to see alternate firing modes for weapons that are magazine based, but I want to see more for ones like these. Like one for the cryo cannon actually condenses it into like a single beam, where it's like ultra high freezing and damage, but like pinpoint, something like that. I want to see things like that. Because I'm cool like that. I'm chill like that.
Yeah, and those are the overclocks that we should really start seeing them put out, which is why I think as much good as Double Barrel and Rocket Barrage is, they are the old overclocks still, right? Like even though it's on the Hurricane, it is still just a more ammo, more fire rate like thing, right? It is not a new overclock with the new systems they've added, done in a new and interesting way, applied to old weapons. They are still very, very simple, which is why I think if we want to get the more interesting ones, they need to actually dedicate themselves to making new overclocks and not just kind of do them as part of weapon balance. Because I think that results in these kind of not inherently half-assed, but like not full-assed overclocks and overclock changes. Because yeah, Snowball could have done with probably turning into an alternate firing mode where the longer you hold the trigger, there's like 3 stages of Snowball or something, and it will like freeze better.
Yeah, I want like a version of it, like the lowest version, to be just enough to freeze grunts or something.
Yeah, like you just tap fire it maybe, and it's like shoots out like floppy snowballs that kind of do a little area.
Floppy
But then
snowballs.
you then charge it, you get like an EPC sized kind of thing going, and it would like maybe not flash a Praetorian because I don't even think it. I know it does freeze a Praetorian now, but the max one would like genuinely be able to like freeze a Dreadnought, but it costs you like 100 ammo or some shit, right? I like that. But
Crikey.
because it's not that hard to do.
No,
if
it's
you
not.
use tier 1. Tier 1 allows you to freeze dreadnoughts whatever the fuck you want.
Looking at the dreadnoughts freeze temperature. -490. A bit odd. I mean, that's how much you'd need, which is 2 snowballs plus 90 more freezing power,
Which is less than convenient.
which is 50 something ammo.
Yeah, which is really what you would end up spending.
Like 62 ammo total. Okay. Whatever.
Well, I think that's been us.
That was it. It was
That's been season 4 on the weapon changes. I mean, we have talked about the changes, right? In a more formal way. This can't be our first time talking about them, is it?
No. I guess it's kind of been. Well, first of all, when they were all would have been on a podcast. I guess there was one. I don't know if we did one around the time that the patch notes were first revealed, but then again, most of these changes weren't done by then. But definitely the first impressions would have included this, or at least the next one. And I'm sure there's been plenty over the course of different streams as well. So, I would say this is the most formal though that it's been. Obviously, remember we talked about a lot of them in the under the banner of the Scout video or the videos, yeah. So, of course, we've already talked about them. Of course, but yeah, this is definitely the most focused it's been, and this will be, as I have stated many times before, how this series lives on throughout the rest of Deep Rock's lifespan, which I'm very happy about. Like I said, I wouldn't mind using it for some other things at some point. I don't know what those would be. I guess it's like meant to be like it's meant to be like objective data. I guess if we need to check things.
Which at least it's objective data for like us,
For
just
us.
so we know.
I do
what
remember
kind of things I can hate and that kind of stuff.
I do sort of remember making that clarification that it's like it was supposed to bring out what we actually believe is the case for these things, for the weapon balancing. What are genuine, instead of like, it's not meant to be very I don't know, it's not meant to be based on instinct, I guess. I don't know. Oh, it kind of is actually. More so than anything else. Because it was kind of meant to be, we would just read out what they were and then give numbers, but it invariably descends into long form discussion as per freaking usual.
Freaking. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Either way.
But until next time, this has been Barrel Vision with some weapon analysis. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more Deep Rock content. Okay, that's how I have to do it. I can't. I said exactly what you're supposed to say, but you know, as Alfred. So yeah. Maybe that's how I need to do it from now on.
Do a silly voice.
No, just that one. Just not different voices.
Do you not think it might get tiresome?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Of course it will.
Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. We're going now. Thank you very much. Bye. Goodbye. Bye.